Matthew 26:27 through 29. Yes. Matthew 26:27 through 29. He also took the cup, and after giving thanks, gave it to them, saying, all you drink of it. So this is a typical part of communion, taking cup and taking bread. This would have been something they would have did each year during Passover meal. This would have been something commonly done that would have been used in each meal. Oftentimes in the New Testament, when it talks, instead of using the word food, it uses the word bread. You don't have bread to eat. It's talking about a meal. It ain't just necessarily bread, but bread was always shared at a meal. So this would have been something they would have did, and we see in the New Testament when the church, this is something they practice every time they share a meal. It's in remembrance of Christ, because that's kind of why they were brought together. It ain't necessarily for us today. It's we take a special time for communion, but for them, it's a typical practice of their meal. They with certain diets, bread ain't eaten all the time by certain people and all this. But for them it was normal, everything they'd have. They'd have bread and wine, and then whatever else they'd have. But always that too. So in a way, in remembrance, when every time they gather at the table, they were reminded, okay, this is what Christ did for us. For this is my blood of the new covenant, poured out for many for forgiveness of sin. Now, the old covenant it was for reference to the law, which the lamb would be slain and blood would be sprinkled on the altar for forgiveness of sin. There's a lot more to it, and that is the gist of this part, the blood being sprinkled. And so blood was shed for the forgiveness of sin. We see in the Garden of Eden when Adam and Eve sinned, how God sheds, I don't even remember what animal, but he gives them skins from it. To get skins was shedding of blood. And so to be in God's presence and to be in fellowship with him, forgiveness of sin has to be done, shedding of blood has to be done. And so the new covenant's in Christ. The old covenant was always meant to be temporary. This is why they kept having to do sacrifices over and over. But through Christ, the sacrifices are complete. The new covenant's final. It's in him. We just look to him. We don't have to keep offering up bloodshed. His was final and filled it all. I tell you, from now on, I shall drink of the product of the vine. Shall not drink of the product of the vine at all until the day when I shall drink it new with you in my Father's kingdom. So what this is saying is, this is for him to say this. Sometimes you can. What it's saying is, this is the last meal he's going to be able to have with them until he's called away. And this is why it's recognized as the Last Supper. It's the last meal he's going to have till he's called away, which makes it significant for them. He has meals with them when he comes back. There's a point where he fixes them fish. But sometimes our fellowship with God's always important. And we don't know when our last time on earth is going to be the last time we can fellowship with him. We should make every opportunity to stay in his fellowship.